I heard my wife say to her friends, "He's so dumb, he doesn't even realize I've been sleeping with another man for years." They all laughed. I remained silent, but when she came back with tears in her eyes, I gave her something she would never forget. I never imagined I'd be the kind of guy telling this story. I always thought I'd be the one reading posts like this, shaking my head and thinking, damn, that's rough, man. But life has a weird way of humbling you, and now here I am, writing this out because my world cracked open in the most unexpected way. I'm 34. My name's Alex. Until recently, I thought I had a pretty solid life. Steady job, a nice little house in the suburbs, and a wife, Brooke, 32, who I'd been married to for 8 years. We weren't perfect, but who is? We still had date nights, we talked about starting a family next year, and I genuinely thought we were on the same page about everything. Last weekend was supposed to be a guy's trip. Just me and 3 of my buddies heading 2 states over to catch a big game in person. We'd been planning it for months. Hotel booked, tickets printed, coolers packed. But the night before we were supposed to leave, my buddy Ryan called to tell us his kid had come down with a nasty fever. He was out. That was a blow, and without him the whole thing kind of fell apart. Everyone agreed to call it off. Not ideal, but life happens. I figured I'd make the most of it. Brooke had mentioned she was having a girls' night with some of her friends while I was away, so I thought, why not surprise her? Maybe bring home dessert, spend the evening together. I even picked up her favorite red velvet cupcakes from this little bakery downtown. I was feeling kind of excited, honestly. Like, this is what being married is about, right? Small moments, being present. It was a little after 9 p.m. when I pulled into the driveway. I noticed a couple extra cars parked out front, which made sense. I recognized Lauren's blue Ford and Jamie's little white Toyota. Brooke had said the girls were coming over, so far, everything checked out. I walked up to the door, cupcakes in hand, and was about to head inside when I heard laughter coming from the backyard. The kind of loud, high-pitched cackling that only happens when a bottle or 3 of wine has been demolished. I figured I'd head around the side and say hi, maybe make a cheesy entrance, surprise them with dessert. But then I heard my name, and that's when I paused. I don't know what exactly made me stop. Instinct, maybe. Some small tug in the chest. But I didn't move. I just froze beside the fence, hidden in the dark, listening. Alex is just so... God. I can't even... Brooke's voice rang out, slightly slurred. The girls all burst out laughing. Still can't believe you've pulled this off for so long, Lauren said, giggling. Then came the punch to the gut. He's too dumb to notice I've been hooking up with Mason for years, Brooke practically shouted through her laughter. They all howled like it was the funniest thing in the world. My heart stopped. I swear, for a second it felt like my lungs forgot how to work. Brooke continued, like she hadn't just detonated a grenade. Last Tuesday, while Alex was working late, Mason came over and we did it right on the living room couch. You know, the one where he takes those sacred naps of his. Cue more laughter. I felt like the air had turned into concrete around me. That couch. I'd literally fallen asleep on it just the night before, after bringing her dinner because she said she was feeling tired. I'd massaged her shoulders, told her I loved her. Oh my God! Jamie shrieked. Not the nap couch. I know, Brooke said, still laughing. And the next morning, he made me breakfast like the sweet little puppy he is. Avocado toast, scrambled eggs, coffee in bed. All while I still had Mason's fingerprints on my skin. I wanted to throw up. I actually bent over, hands on my knees, trying to breathe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wife, the person I trusted more than anyone, was bragging about cheating on me like it was a damn stand-up routine. I don't know how long I stood there, listening to them laugh at me like I was the butt of some long-running joke. 10 minutes? 20? I know I heard enough. Enough to understand that Mason wasn't just some random mistake. He'd been around for years. That Brooke used my work trips as opportunities to have him over. That she missed my dad's funeral, my father's funeral, because she claimed she had food poisoning, but in reality, she was with him. At some point I just left, quietly, like a ghost. I walked back to my car, set the cupcakes on the passenger seat, and drove. I didn't even know where I was going. I ended up in the parking lot of a 24-hour Target. Just sat there in the dark, trying not to completely break down. Have you ever seen a grown man hyperventilate in a Corolla at 10 p.m. on a Saturday? That was me, shaking, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white, crying without even realizing I was crying. When I finally pulled myself together enough to use my phone, I called my best friend Matt. Thankfully, his son was feeling better and he picked up on the second ring. "Dude," I said, "my life just blew up." I told him everything, or at least as much as I could get out between breaths. He was quiet for a second and then said, "Don't go home tonight. Come here. We'll figure this out." So I did. That night, I paced around Matt's living room like a man possessed. He made coffee, grabbed his laptop, and started Googling divorce attorneys. I kept replaying every suspicious moment from the last few years. The weekends she went on girls' trips and came home with almost no photos. The way she'd started keeping her phone face down. Hotel charges on our statement from places close to her house. Nights she said she had to work late showing homes to clients. She's a realtor, but something always felt off. God, I felt like such an idiot. Like I was the last one to see what everyone else probably noticed months ago. At around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Brooke. "Girls are all crashing here. Hope you're having fun with the boys. Love you, Red Heart." I almost threw the phone against the wall. The sheer audacity of that message made my skin crawl. I wanted to scream, but Matt took my phone and said, "Don't respond. Don't let her know anything's changed." He was right. The next morning, I went home like nothing happened. Told Brooke I ended up crashing at Matt's after we had a few too many beers. She didn't even blink. Just complained about having to clean up after everyone while hungover. I looked at her across the kitchen table, the same woman who had laughed about screwing another man while I cooked for her, and for the first time in 8 years I saw a stranger. That week I became someone else too. Not the trusting, laid-back husband I'd always been. I was done being the guy who made her breakfast while she laughed at me behind my back. I was going to be smarter, colder, more calculated. I wasn't just walking away from my marriage. I was going to burn the mask she'd been wearing to the ground. After that night, something inside me snapped. Not in the Hollywood drama kind of way, no throwing plates or screaming accusations. It was something quieter, colder. Like someone had opened a freezer in my chest and locked my heart inside. The pain was still there, don't get me wrong. It was still raw and ugly. But now it had structure. A direction. And that direction was, don't react. Prepare. The next morning, Brooke woke up hungover and irritated. She was complaining about the mess in the kitchen, wine bottles, makeup wipes, crumbs on the counter. I watched her pace around in her robe like nothing had happened. She had no clue that I had heard everything. No idea that the man who made her coffee that morning had already started planning how to dismantle her entire life. I told her I crashed at Matt's because we stayed up late drinking. She bought it. Easy. She even joked about how cute it was that guys still had sleepovers at our age. That week, I went full reconnaissance mode. Every time she got in the shower, I went for her phone. I used to never snoop. We trusted each other, or at least I thought we did. But now? All bets were off. Her phone wasn't password protected because she never needed it to be. I'd never given her a reason to hide anything. I found thousands of texts with Mason. Thousands. Some flirty. Some disgustingly graphic. Some casual, like they were just dating. Hotel confirmations. Screenshots of memes they sent each other. Private jokes about me. Photos, a few of them intimate, a few of them just Brooke smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. But not at me. I took screenshots of everything. I created a hidden cloud folder, uploaded every bit of evidence. I even forwarded some of the emails to a burner account I made just for this. Then I started checking our finances. The floodgates opened. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Lingerie I'd definitely never seen her wear. A spa weekend booked at a resort just 20 minutes away, while I was in another state visiting my mom after her surgery. Hotel stays always charged to our shared credit card, usually on nights she claimed to be working late or doing open house follow-ups. Every new discovery felt like a paper cut across my heart. Sharp, fast, and adding up to something painful and infected. I started documenting everything, every expense, every piece of communication. My lawyer, the one Matt helped me find, told me to save it all and make backup copies. He was a bulldog of a divorce attorney, someone who'd clearly seen it all. The kind of guy who looked like he didn't flinch at messy details. "You're doing the right thing," he said. "Don't confront her. Not yet. The more you prepare, the stronger your case will be. So I played the part. Wore the mask. Kissed her goodnight. Asked her about her day. Sat on the couch beside her while she texted Mason, probably thinking I was too dense to notice how her phone always stayed angled away from me. But I saw everything. I started moving my important stuff out of the house in secret. Just a few things at first: my dad's watch, some personal documents, photos that mattered to me. I'd wait until Brooke was showing homes, which I now understood meant sleeping with Mason, and quietly pack what I could into the trunk of my car, dropping it off at Matt's or putting it in a rented storage unit I opened under my name only. To keep up appearances, I even suggested we go out for dinner one night. She smiled like everything was perfectly normal, got dressed up, and told me I was being sweet. I watched her smear on lipstick and couldn't stop thinking about how many times she'd kissed me with that same mouth after being with him. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled. She had no idea the version of me she thought she knew was already gone. The next step was creating what Matt and I started calling the nuclear folder. He helped me organize everything. Screenshots of every text. Copies of hotel receipts. A timeline of the affair. Voice memos I recorded when Brooke would call Mason on speakerphone while walking around the kitchen, assuming I wasn't paying attention. We live in a one-party consent state, and yes, I checked. And finally, a USB with it all backed up and encrypted. I made multiple copies. One for my lawyer. One hidden in a fireproof box. When I planned to send to Mason's wife, I eventually tracked her down. Her name was Emily. She had no idea. I remember staring at her Facebook profile for a long time, wondering what she would think when all of this dropped into her lap. Part of me felt bad. Not because I was doing the wrong thing, no, I was just sad that someone else's world was about to shatter too. She had 2 young kids with him. They looked so normal. So happy. That's when it hit me: that's probably what Brooke and I looked like to other people. Perfect on the outside. Rotten underneath. While I was putting together evidence, I also started quietly setting up my escape. I found a small apartment across town, signed the lease under my name, and paid the first 3 months up front. I opened a new bank account, transferred half our savings legally. My lawyer confirmed I was entitled to do that, and made sure all automatic payments were redirected. I removed Brooke as an authorized user from my main credit card. To cover my tracks, I called the credit card company and reported suspicious activity. They agreed to reissue new cards. When hers got declined at a clothing boutique later that week, she came home furious, ranting about how embarrassing it was. I told her it must be some kind of delay in the mail. She bought it. Again. Every step I took made me colder, sharper, more focused. I started planting small seeds among our mutual friends too. Nothing dramatic, just casual conversations: how Brooke seemed distant lately, how I felt like maybe something was off. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just set the stage. Let them wonder. Let them be confused. Because when everything came out, I didn't want there to be any question about who was the liar in the relationship. I even took screenshots of Brooke's Instagram posts, the ones where she painted us as the perfect couple. Hashtags like #GratefulHusband and #RelationshipGoals under photos she'd posted right after sleeping with Mason. It made me sick, but I knew that hypocrisy would be part of what brought her image down. The hardest part? Sleeping next to her. Every night, she'd curl up beside me, sometimes laying her head on my chest, like nothing was wrong. She'd whisper, "I love you," before turning out the light. Some nights she'd reach for me, and I'd go along with it. I hated myself for that, but I knew the endgame. I had to keep playing dumb. Let her feel safe. Because people like Brooke only unravel when they think they're untouchable. That's what I was waiting for. The moment she truly believed she'd gotten away with everything. And then, I was gonna flip the entire script. It's a strange thing, watching the person you once loved walk around your house completely unaware that their world is about to end. You'd think it would make you feel powerful. But all I felt was numb. By this point, I had everything ready. The nuclear folder was complete. My new apartment was fully furnished, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I had spoken with my attorney again and finalized the divorce papers. I'd even talked to Emily, Mason's wife. That was the final piece of the puzzle. It started with a message. I had mailed the evidence packet to her a day earlier with a return receipt, and around 10:30 a.m. on D-Day, she called me. "Is this Alex?" she asked. Her voice sounded tight, like she'd been holding back tears. Yeah. Emily? She exhaled hard. I got the package. I waited. I thought I was crazy, she whispered. He made me feel like I was insane, paranoid, jealous. I can't tell you how many nights I cried myself to sleep because he told me it was all in my head. I know the feeling, I said. We talked for a while. She asked me how long I'd known, what I planned to do. I didn't get into the details, didn't feel right. I just told her I was divorcing Brooke and that I thought she deserved the truth too. Emily was calm, but I could tell her hands were shaking on the other end. She thanked me, told me she was sorry for what I was going through, and said she was going to take care of things on her end. I told her I respected whatever decision she made. I hung up and looked at the time, 11:15 a.m. Brooke was at her client appreciation brunch, this over-the-top networking event she'd been organizing for weeks. There were florists, catering, music. She was thrilled about it. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready that morning, and I made her breakfast, told her she looked amazing, even kissed her on the cheek before she left. By noon, the fallout had begun. I watched the text messages roll in, one after another. Alex, why is Emily calling me? Did you talk to Mason's wife? What the hell is going on? Pick up your phone. I didn't respond. Then came the phone calls. I let them go to voicemail. She left 3 voicemails in a row, each one more frantic than the last. Then silence. Around 2 p.m. I got a call from Matt. She left the event early, he said. Word spreading. One of her clients saw her crying in the parking lot. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. The next move was simple, but it mattered. I sent a brief, emotionless email to Brooke's parents. I always liked them. They'd been nothing but kind to me for years, and they deserved to know the truth. I attached a condensed version of the timeline and the most relevant proof. No commentary. No anger. Just facts. At 6:12 p.m. I heard the front door open. Brooke walked in looking like she'd been run over by a truck. Her makeup was smeared, hair falling out of place, heels in her hand. She looked small, defeated. Her eyes scanned the living room and landed on me, sitting calmly on the couch with a manila folder in my lap. She opened her mouth, but I spoke first. We both know why I'm sitting here. She blinked. And just like that, the flood started. How could you do this? You told Mason's wife. Are you insane? You've ruined my reputation. Do you have any idea what today was supposed to be for me? I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. I just waited. When she realized the anger wasn't working, she switched gears. Please, Alex. Can we talk about this? I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. It didn't mean anything. It was just sex, I swear. I've always loved you. Still, I said nothing. Then came the tears. I was lonely. You were always working. I didn't know how to tell you. Mason, he was just there. It wasn't about him. It was about me. I've been confused. Lost. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I let her cry. I let her sit in it. And then, finally, I handed her the folder. Divorce papers. Pre-signed. Notarized. Witnessed. Her hands shook as she flipped through them, her eyes scanning line after line. Her lips parted in disbelief. You've been planning this? I nodded. For weeks. You've been pretending this whole time? No, I said. I've been preparing. She collapsed onto the armchair, looking like the wind had been knocked out of her. That was the moment she realized the real betrayal wasn't hers. It was mine, but not in the way she thought. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was restraint. It was the cold, calculated unraveling of everything she'd taken for granted. I already moved out, I told her. You have 3 days to make arrangements. After that, I'll be contacting the landlord about terminating the lease. We have a lease? There's a morality clause in it, I said. My lawyer already pulled it. Her face went pale. Over the next few days, she spiraled. One moment, she'd send long text messages begging me to talk. The next, she'd threaten me, tell me I'd regret it, that she'd ruin me. Then she'd apologize again. Then silence. Her parents called me. Her mom sounded heartbroken, her dad just tired. They didn't defend her. They didn't ask me to reconsider. They just said they were sorry. Her friends? They vanished. Lauren and Jamie ghosted her almost instantly, probably afraid of being caught in the fallout. One of our mutual friends told me Brooke's group chat had gone dead silent. No one wanted to be associated with her now that it was public. And Mason? He folded like a paper doll. Emily told me he threw Brooke under the bus the second she confronted him. Said she was obsessed. That she wouldn't leave him alone. That she seduced him, manipulated him, pressured him. Classic coward move. His marriage was already over, though. Emily filed for divorce 2 days after we spoke. Meanwhile, Brooke was unraveling. She called my office once, trying to get me on the phone. I blocked her number. She emailed from a different address saying she wanted to talk in person. That she needed closure. I didn't respond. And then, a few nights later, she showed up at my apartment. I don't know how she found the address, maybe through a friend who worked in real estate, or maybe she followed me once. But there she was, standing at my door in the rain, makeup smeared again, holding a folder of her own. I let her in. Mostly because my neighbor was peeking through the blinds and I didn't want a scene. She stepped into the living room like a ghost. Like a shell of the woman I once knew. I lost everything, she said softly. I didn't say anything. I can't afford the rent on my own. My clients are backing out. My friends won't talk to me. My parents barely speak to me unless it's about the divorce. And Mason, she trailed off. I raised an eyebrow. He blocked me. I almost laughed. Almost. She sat down on the couch where she once bragged about cheating, and said, I just want to know if there's anything left. Anything we can salvage. I walked to my desk, grabbed a folder of my own, and handed it to her. Inside, a financial breakdown. Spreadsheets. Credit card statements. A projection of her post-divorce budget. A copy of the bank transfer confirmation. Printouts of the leases. Notes from my lawyer about her spending from our joint accounts that would qualify as dissipation of marital assets. She flipped through it, silent. Page after page, her face fell further. This is real? She asked quietly. I nodded. You always said I was too nice. Too trusting. Too naive. But I was also paying attention. Just not in the way you thought. She didn't cry this time. She just sat there, staring at the folder. Eventually, she stood up, nodded slowly, and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned and said, I didn't think you had it in you. I looked her in the eye and said, that makes two of us. Then I closed the door. And just like that, the woman who had once been my everything became a footnote in the story of how I took my life back. It's been just over 6 months since the day I handed Brooke the divorce papers and watched her world unravel across my living room floor. And I'm not gonna lie, the first few weeks after that were a mess. Not for her. For me. You don't spend nearly a decade with someone. Sleep beside them night after night, build dreams together, only to rip that away and walk out completely unscathed. That's not how real life works. That's not how people heal. After I moved into my new apartment, I became a bit of a ghost. I went to work, came home, ordered takeout, slept, and repeated the cycle. My place looked like something out of a college freshman's dorm. Mattress on the floor, plastic cutlery, one frying pan I barely used. There were nights I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, phone in my hand, rereading old text messages from her. I wasn't missing her. Not really. I was missing the version of her I thought was real. There's a difference. The mind does funny things when you're grieving someone who's still alive. Eventually, Matt showed up one Saturday with a bag of groceries and a trash bag in the other hand. He didn't ask for permission. He walked in, opened all the blinds, and said, We're cleaning this sadness cave. Let's go. I fought him on it, but not hard. I think I was waiting for someone to shake me awake. That day, we scrubbed down the kitchen, bought a rail bed frame, and even hung up a few photos I'd taken from trips over the years. Nothing of Brooke. Nothing that carried memories soaked in lies. Just me. Starting over. I also started therapy. I found a guy online, Dr. Raymond. He didn't try to sell me on forgiveness or healing crystals. He was blunt, grounded, talked a lot about trauma from betrayal and how it messes with your sense of identity. We started unpacking not just what Brooke did, but how long I ignored the signs. Why I let things slide. Why I wanted so badly to believe we were still okay, even when things had started rotting from the inside. Every week, I left that office feeling a little bit lighter. Not healed, that takes time, but less weighed down. About 2 months into that process, I joined a local soccer league. I hadn't played since college, but I needed something, anything, to reconnect me with the version of myself that existed before all this. Before the pain. Before the second-guessing. Running again. Laughing with strangers. Taking hits and bouncing back. It reminded me I was still alive. I even started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Coffee dates, walks, some awkward conversation. I was rusty, paranoid. But there was one woman, Sarah, who I met through a hiking group. She had a gentle way about her. Never asked for more than I could give. She knew I was coming out of something messy and didn't push. I told her the basics, but spared her the gritty details. She never pried. With her, I could breathe. Even when the trust issues showed up, she didn't take it personally. She just gave me space. And that meant more than she probably knows. As for Brooke, well, her descent didn't stop the night she walked out my door. After the divorce papers were filed, she tried to fight for half of everything. Said 8 years of marriage entitled her to at least that much, regardless of the affair. Her lawyer tried the usual tactics, emotional leverage, sympathy plays, but my guy came prepared. He laid out the evidence of infidelity, the timeline, the financial misuses from our joint account. At one point during mediation, her lawyer tried to argue that Brooke's mistake shouldn't define the entire relationship. The mediator, this older woman with steel in her voice, looked over her glasses and said, 3 years of repeated cheating is not a mistake. It's a pattern. We settled soon after. I kept my retirement account, the bulk of the savings, and my car. Brooke got enough to start over, barely. No alimony. No extended negotiations. The judge actually told her she was fortunate, considering the circumstances. After that, things got quiet. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved back in with her parents. They live in a gated retirement community. Small guest room, twin bed, floral wallpaper. Not exactly Instagram-worthy, which is why Brooke's social media slowly faded into cryptic, healing quotes and throwback photos. I knew the algorithm better than she thought. She was recycling old pics, trying to keep up the illusion that her life hadn't imploded. But the truth always leaks. A few clients left her real estate business. Not because of the affair itself, but because she started showing up late, distracted, unfocused. Her confidence, that curated charm she used to sell houses, was gone. She tried to hold on, but within a few months, she was out of the agency altogether. Our mutual friends fractured down invisible lines. Matt, of course, was on my side. So was Jamie's husband and a few people from my office who had met Brooke at work functions and always felt something was off. Even Brooke's cousin, someone I never expected, reached out and said, "Honestly, I always thought she didn't deserve you. I just didn't think it would blow up like that." Some stayed neutral. Most drifted away. Divorce does that. It becomes the quiet elephant in the room, and people would rather walk away than choose a side. The weirdest part? Lauren, one of the women who was on that back porch the night I overheard everything, messaged me 2 months ago. She said she just wanted to check in, that she'd always respected me and hoped I was doing okay. I didn't respond. Anyone who could sit there and laugh while my wife trashed me doesn't get a seat at the table anymore. You don't get to jump ship when it's sinking and show up later asking if the lifeboat has snacks. And Mason? Emily told me he tried every trick in the book. Love bombing, apologies, bouquets delivered to her office, standing outside their house playing their song. He even brought their pastor into it, said he was going to change, that Brooke had manipulated him, that it was a dark period and he'd found the light. Emily wasn't buying it. She divorced him, moved in with her sister in Pennsylvania, and last I heard, she was dating a guy who coached her son's baseball team. Good for her. A few days ago, and this is where it gets surreal, I ran into Brooke. At Home Depot of all places. I was in the paint aisle, picking out a color for my office wall. I had a swatch in one hand and a coffee in the other when I turned the corner and our carts literally bumped. She looked different. Shorter hair. No makeup. Dressed plain. There was something quieter about her. Like the volume of her presence had been turned down. We both froze. Then she spoke. "Alex," she said, "can we talk? Just for a minute." Part of me wanted to turn around, but I didn't. We stepped outside and sat on one of those display benches near the garden center. Both of us awkwardly holding on to our shopping bags like they were some kind of emotional shield. She didn't cry. She didn't blame. She just said, "I'm sorry." It was the first real apology she'd ever given me. No excuses. No drama. She admitted she'd destroyed something beautiful and had spent the last few months trying to figure out why. "I didn't know how to love anyone," she said. "Not you. Not even myself." She told me she was moving to Chicago. A friend from college had offered her a couch while she tried to get back on her feet. She had an interview lined up at a property management company. I nodded. Then something weird happened. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not revenge. Just neutrality. Like she was someone I used to know. Like watching the final episode of a show you stopped caring about halfway through. We said goodbye. No hug. Just a nod. As she walked away, she turned once more and said, "I know it doesn't matter now, but I did love you. I just didn't know how to treat someone who actually loved me back." And then she disappeared into the parking lot. One bag in hand, eyes forward. I went home, opened my laptop, and deleted the last folder labeled Brooke from my computer. Photos, documents, screenshots, gone. The backup drive is still in my safe just in case, but I don't need to carry it around anymore. I don't need her haunting my desktop. Not anymore. My new apartment isn't big, but it's clean. It's mine. There are no landmines hidden in the corners. No invisible tension in the couch cushions. Just peace. And quiet. And the occasional smell of pancakes on a Sunday morning because I cook again now. Sarah and I still see each other. Slowly. Carefully. I'm not rushing anything. But she makes me laugh. She doesn't make me question my worth. She doesn't make me feel like loving me is some kind of favor she's doing. That's new for me. I still have days when the past hits me unexpectedly. A song. A smell. A memory. But they sting less now. They float in, then float away. Like passing weather. What I've learned is this. You don't always get closure in a neat package. Sometimes it comes in the form of an empty bed that no longer feels cold. A kitchen that smells like bacon and not secrets. A bank account you don't have to monitor. A face in the mirror that finally looks like someone you recognize. Brooke taught me a lot. Mostly what not to accept. And me? I'm still rebuilding. But every day the pieces fit together a little better. TLDR. 6 months after exposing my wife's long-term affair, the divorce is finalized. She's left town, and I've started healing. Not with revenge, but with quiet, steady, intentional peace.